Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of Military Smooth. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And we're going to get into first eye or third eye. And we're going to get into why I titled it this. Now, for the most part, this is what we need to break down first and foremost. Just the simple fact that you are receiving the information in the fashion of it being called third eye already makes it backed and supported by a false pretense. AKA, you're going to be receiving wrong knowledge from it, or knowledge that's coming to you at the wrong angle. So you're not really receiving the right information by it. Because here, look, intuitively, subconsciously, shout out to the subconscious community, soul group, spiritually, you know this is wrong. Even to call it the third eye. Because you know, when we talk about that pineal gland, that thing that's in the center of your brain, I like to call it a brain wave, a star wave, a physical vessel that your spirit have created to go into to experience that realm of reality. But you know, when we talk about that pineal gland, that center spot in your mind, that ain't even really technically an eye, you know that's inside you. So if that's more inside you than these external eyes, then you know that even calling it the third eye and all the knowledge that's received from it is going to be wrong, because technically that was first. So whoever added third and started building knowledge onto that was on a false pretense. And if you aren't receiving any knowledge backed upon that, then you need to know that's going to be on a false pretense. So anything you may have heard, such as calcifying the pineal gland and fluoride and shit like that, that really matters none. And that has nothing to do with anything. You see what I'm saying? Because for the most part, I like to break everything down into a third dimensional level. So let's break it down to your five senses, right? Now, you can't listen and talk at the same time. You ever been around somebody who's talking too much? You know that they're not technically listening or comprehending what the fuck you're saying. So for the most part, you can't listen and talk at the same time. Same thing. You can't see and think at the same time. Now, if you're not thinking about what you're actually looking at, it's going to be hard to do. You could put this into an experiment right now. Pause this video, right? And look at an object. Look at an object and try thinking about something that has nothing to do with this object. I bet you start drifting off. I bet you your eyes start drifting off. I bet you it seems like it's a little bit hard to do. So these are things that you kind of got remnants that you could blend, but it's hard to do because you haven't created a sufficient enough vehicle, this body, to actually blend those two chakras yet. You know what I'm saying? In a way that you can actually do two things at one time in a full totality or the maximum potential of it. So the reason why I brought this, why I broke that down into third dimensional aspects is because when you talk about the ability to think, this is you utilizing your first eye, right? Because here's the thing, when you are thinking, that is like your subconscious eye. And when you're opening these two eyes, these are like your conscious eyes. Your conscious is your ability to be consciously aware of the yang realm, aka the external realm. The subconscious realm is your ability to be able to be aware of the internal realm, right? Whether it's the external internal version of this realm or your internal version of this realm, aka things that's going on behind the scenes externally or things going on behind the scenes within you. You see what I'm saying? So that will be your subconscious, aka your internal eye, aka your first eye, not your third eye. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, when we talk about your third eye, aka your first eye being closed, that could be nothing more, nothing less, but you opening these two eyes. So for the most part, when you open these two eyes, technically that's what it means to close your third eye, which y'all call the third eye, but it's the first eye. So when you open these two eyes, you can't, like I said, you can't see and think at the same time. So when you're opening these two eyes, you're receiving. You're receiving. When you open these two eyes, you're not pushing out, looking out. You're receiving this influence. You're receiving these rays, these bodies of water to perceive this realm of reality. So when you open your eyes, you technically close your third eye. Your third eye can't see because the body of water from the sun, Venus, and the moon and everything else is coming into you to receive this realm of reality from which you think that you're perceiving it from an external point of view. So the third eye has to be closed. Now, once you close these eyes or drift off into your mind, that's when you technically close these eyes, or not. Or if you're daydreaming and these eyes are open, you're technically not utilizing these vehicles. As a spirit, you jumped into your first eye, and now you're starting to realize things. right? So once you start to realize, that's technically what opening your first eye, or opening what y'all want to call your third eye is, or your pineal gland. It's when you're realizing things. For an example, right? You can externally open these eyes, right, and look into the conscious realm and see two objects. Right? But then you can close your eyes and realize what does two objects means. You could come up with a construct like one object and another object creates two objects. That's you realizing something. So instead of you verbally communicating a math problem, you're doing the math problem within your head. You're realizing a conclusion. So that's utilizing your third eye, which I want to call, I'm going to say third eye since we got a bunch of 3D people who may get confused based upon what I'm actually talking about when I say it's just the first eye or pineal gland. So for the most part, like I said, right, that's just you utilizing your third eye. So closing your third eye could be nothing more, nothing less, but opening these two eyes. And when you start to be too consciously aware of things, you start to, that's technically calcifying your third eye, because you're no longer aware of the subconscious realm. You're too much aware of the external yang conscious realm. So you're too busy invested into trends, going along with the flow, being relatable, seeing the ways of the world, realizing certain things that have nothing to do with you, but shit that you're relative to just because you are part of this world. Now, that is, for the most part, calcifying your third eye at the root level. I don't give a fuck who you listening to on, I'm Archangel, goddammit, Uriel, goddammit. In the esoteric realm, anytime you're utilizing too much external light to perceive something, that is calcifying your internal light, and you're not able to perceive yourself. So you want to exclude yourself or self-sacrifice yourself from an external event, person, place, or thing in some magnitude. You see what I'm saying? That's calcifying your third eye. Now, when you're opening your third eye, that's closing these eyes, aka you're being more aware of your own internal self, your own emotions and feelings. Or if you're doing this externally, you're being more aware of the subconscious realm from the conscious realm, aka you're being more aware of what's going on behind the scenes of the things that's going on in front of you. You're understanding how this person's spirit is moving behind the body that they're in. You see what I'm saying? Or inside the body that they're in. So you're seeing what's going on behind whatever you're actually seeing as far as body language and verbal communication from this person. You're actually seeing what kind of direction those energies is going in, because the spirit is creating those energies to be pushed out, but you're actually seeing what kind of direction this angle this spirit is, aka you're seeing what's going on behind the scenes, and you're picking up shit like, okay, they might be saying and doing one thing, aka what you see with these eyes, but you're realizing another thing, aka utilizing your third eye. So that's what it technically is. That's what people need to understand. Don't get lost into no external man or woman philosophical point of view of what they are teaching you about what you quote unquote think is the third eye. And just by them calling it the third eye, you're getting after the fact knowledge. You're getting hand-me-down knowledge. You're getting knowledge that actually has nothing to do with your first eye. You're getting concept of it. You're getting concepts about it after it's being a third eye. Like it's something that you have to do and something you have to look for with these two eyes in order to help that eye not get calcified. So you end up having to utilize the actual third eye, 2, 3, and you actually have to utilize these to get more information and to be consciously aware of more shit and do more instructions in order and do more routines and patterns to think that this is what you have to do to uncalcify your third eye, which you're living backwards once again. See, this universe is so fucking tricky, y'all. It's so fucking tricky. That's why it's tricky, man. It's tricky. So you really got to be on guard, especially going through this age of Aquarius right now, which we're really in the age of centaurs right now. You know what I'm saying? Anytime we talk about the ages, these are things and we talking about the ages that's based upon the constellations of our ecliptic. We already did this age. We already did the age of Aquarius. So if we are here again, yeah, we are experiencing something we have already done before. But we need to understand the outer external constellations to understand what influences that we are picked up by, aka what influences that we are in, aka what age. The first age of Aquarius that we have already experienced, we was developing this body that we live in, aka the solar system that dwells into this person, aka Aries through Pisces. in the ecliptic. This is a whole person now, a whole grown person now. So the age that we are in as a solar system, as one of the chakras, yeah, we may be traveling through one of the areas we have already created, the shins, which is Aquarius, but the outside influences is actually the age that we are in now, because we're no longer a smaller vehicle as a whole within this vehicle. We're actually the whole vehicle now traveling. Same way you could be walking past a person, right? And when you're walking past a person, this person is part of your past now. They're behind you. All the blood cells and beings within you, that will be perceived as an age or a retrograde. You see what I'm saying? Or procession, or something going backwards. But it's just you moving through something that's not a part of you. So for the most part, when we're looking at constellations, these are external beings. That's not the person of the constellation we are in. And Aries through Pisces is one whole constellation in itself, esoterically in the 4th, 5th, or 6th dimensional realm. And the solar system is the chakra system of the being that travels through it. That's why the solar system never leaves the ecliptic. And then each solar system is a star, it's a body of water, and every body of water is a will, is an influence, and that influence is a fluid that goes in a certain current, and they all have their certain current, which causes influences, emotions, and feelings. So this is how you have to understand astrology. Once we start to leave the aspect of people putting this into competition between Eastern and Western and sidereal and Vedic, you need to understand how to bring these things together. Understand these are just different aspects of the being that we are living in. Now, for the most part, you need to understand this also. There's multitudes of beings out here, such as Orion, such as Aruga, or I always forgot to say that motherfucking name, Cassiopeia, Cepheus. You see what I'm saying? It's a whole bunch of multitudes of things, of Perseus. And for the most part, you know, putting us into the circumstance where we're thinking about each space, we need to understand the space that we are in. You know what I'm saying? And understanding the space that we are in, we're able to realize certain things about our perspective, realize certain things about our position. And then once we are realizing, this is us utilizing our first eye. So is this really nothing more, nothing less, but realizing things? Because you're utilizing your real eye instead of these external fake eye. I don't want to say fake, but you know what I'm saying, it's a mimic. Even though that one is a mimic of your spiritual, your spirit, because your spirit itself is a space. So it plays out like an eye, the way it travels. You see what I'm saying? But the physical shapes and forms and the vessels and the fleshly fluids that it create based upon a routine and pattern of time in its space is what derived as vehicles and vessels that it can inhabit to experience that realm of reality. So you could jump in these vehicles, jump in your nostril vehicles, jump in your mouth vehicles, but spiritually this vessel is not as dominant as extraterrestrial vessels yet. So you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things you can't completely do yet because you have small perception based upon the spirit of your expansion and contraction, because you're at this level of life right now. But jumping into all your heart space, jumping into your stomach space, jumping into your sexual urges, all the way to jump back into your in this urge right here, your ability to realize things. So when we talk about a person who's woke, right, we're talking about the person who's enlightened. So this is a person who's not too consciously aware of things. They're subconsciously aware of things. They're utilizing their first eye. And this gives the ability for a person to be able to be aware of things, to be aware of more things than another person. You see what I'm saying? You ever been around a person who may be in a fucked up relationship, maybe in a fucked up circumstance, or a person who may try to put you in a certain light that you're not in that light, or something like that for the most part, and you can truly see that they don't really understand what they're doing, but they really lost, they really don't know. For the most part, you need to know that you have more perception of them. So your third eye, maybe you may have more within yourself than this person. This person may be too consciously aware of the external world, and they think that their internal world is developed amongst that. So they think that they have to do things in good nature based upon what they see externally, not understanding that your actual third eye is closed. Your first eye is closed. And you're going to end up jumping into martyr energies and end up creating enemies where there aren't any enemies, and end up putting on false perceptions onto people just because you live in your own small world, aka this world. When you need to understand that when you go within yourself, you will be able to have more awareness than per se another person. So you'll be able to realize more of the circumstance and the situation than per se another person, because you took yourself as a spirit and realized the circumstance and situation in another, from the behind the scenes level, than a person who's only seeing it from a yang perspective, aka being too influenced by external references, people, places, and things. When the people, places, and things that you may be influenced by, their third eye is closed. And they may think they're woke. So, being woke is this being able to see more. So you're able to see more. Some people can see more than other people. You see what I'm saying? AKA, some people realize more about circumstances than other people. Some people have more common sense than other people. You see what I'm saying? That's basically what it boils down to. So when we're talking about a person who's highly woke, this is a person who can see many different realms. You know what I'm saying? Realms that's not correlated to the external realm down here. And when we got a person down here who's fake woke, this is a person who's, quote unquote, consciously aware of all the trial and tribulations of the world, all the trends of the world, all what's, quote unquote, the right things or the wrong things to do of the world. This is a person whose third eye is closed. A person whose third eye is open is a person who's consciously aware of all scenarios and be able to come at it in a perspective at another angle. Therefore, you will be able to be relaxed from both perspectives of the angle. When your third eye is closed, you're always jumping on a bandwagon, or you're always being unbiased to you're always being biased to a certain degree, or you're always choosing to a certain degree, or you're always deciding to a certain degree, or you're always picking to a certain degree, or you're always going to war to a certain degree when your third eye is closed. When your third eye is open, first eye is open, you're always aware and open. You're always undecisive. You're always unbiased. Now, when I say undecisive, I don't mean undecisive as far as how y'all all are in the third dimension where you can't decide amongst something. When I say undecisive, it means, and I shouldn't even use that word, but it just means unbiased. You ain't jumping on no bandwagon. You're not picking no choice, and you're not looking at one spectrum as a black or white arena. You're looking at the benefits and the negatives of both arenas. And having your first eye open, you will realize that both arenas is really no circumstance or situation that you need to be picking and choosing. You need to be utilizing both of these for the sake of you're in that realm that both of these exist in the first place. So you just need to be relative. And the better you know how to be relative and rotate, the better you understand how to ring around the rosies, or these circumstances and situations that you may think are affecting you in ways that they are not, based upon your third eye being closed. You see what I'm saying? These things may be a little bit more in your favor than you really realize. So that's what you need to keep in mind. So when we're talking about opening the third eye, this is just being more subconsciously aware of the conscious arena. You see what I'm saying? So you're not really concerned about what's in front of you. You're concerned about what's going on behind the scenes of these things. You see what I'm saying? And therefore, once you understand what's going on behind the scenes of these things, you can tweak these things and make these things work for you in some way, shape, or form. Then once it'll start to play out as you being a prominent spirit here in some way, shape, or form, and not a spirit that's in defense mode, or a martyr spirit, or that Jesus Christ spirit, or that spirit feel like is always under attack in some way, shape, or form. So keep that in mind. So when we're talking about opening the third eye, it's just basically closing these eyes. And even if you're not technically closing these eyes, stop being consciously aware about everything and start being subconsciously aware about how these things is utilizing you. Because you're probably doing this, how these things is using you in some way, shape, or form, or how can they be useful to you. Stop being consciously aware of everything and start being subconsciously aware on how these things could affect you or disinfect you. And what do I mean by that? Y'all probably do this every day in y'all lives, right? It doesn't matter what person, place, or thing, or what event is in front of you, right? You're always coming back to a space where you're trying to realize, what does this benefit for you in some way, shape, or form? And the more and more you participate in that energy, and it don't benefit you in no way, shape, or form, then you're gonna find yourself being washed out, having to go to war with something, create an enemy, do something that's disgruntled, and or pick a side or choose. You see what I'm saying? Where in reality, you didn't even have to do that in the first place. So keep that in mind. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air.